Hello, this is the Freethought Forum, a program of the Atheist Society of Knoxville, ASK, and the Rationalist of East Tennessee. And I'm Joe Barnhart. Welcome.
And I'm Larry Rhodes, and we want you to know that if you don't believe in God, you're not alone. Right here in East Tennessee, you can find free-thinking atheists and agnostics. This is a show for them and people curious about living a life free of supernatural beliefs. Today's topic is Deconversion Stories.
Okay, and we'll go over a few announcements, and this is a call-in show. So get your pen and paper, and please notice the number on the screen and the email address, and we'd like to hear from you and interact with you if you would.
Okay. We've got a phone call already ringing in. We're going to let the call screener screen it. In the meantime, I'd like to talk about what a deconversion story is. When you're born pretty much tabula rasa. You're a clean slate. You don't have any preconceived notions about the world. But then your parents teach you the basics, and then you go to school, you go to church. And when you go to church and Sunday school and listen to your parents about their religion, you get converted into a particular religion. However, some of us, after years of being subjected to the outrageous claims of religion, a lot of times say, no, I don't buy it, and say, I can't believe all that stuff. And then they are therefore in a process of deconverting. We are inviting our callers to call in today, particularly the agnostic atheists ones, freethinkers, and share with us their deconversion story, how they came to rationality. Well, we have a caller now. Welcome to Freethought Forum. May we have a name or a nickname, please?
My name's Alan.
Hello, Alan. Welcome to the show. Did you call in with a story?
No, we're new to the area. We were just calling in. We thought we'd tell you all that it's pretty cool that you tell us what's going on in the community and everything.
Oh, well, cool. Thank you very much. Did you have any other comments or questions?
No, not really.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Bye-bye. So,
Okay.
Where were we?
You were at the God Delusion.
Okay.
And we have the monthly activity of the Rationalist of East Tennessee. Mm-hmm. The first and third Sunday mornings are usually lectures, and then lively discussions, and I think you would enjoy those. Mm-hmm. The second Sunday is a book club, and then the fourth Sunday is reflections time and gathering for potluck and afternoons and members' homes. On November the 6th, Professor Gladys Alexander of the University of Tennessee will present a talk entitled Our Microbial Friends.
Okay. The Atheist Society of Knoxville is a fun meetup group that often meets at restaurants and bars, eateries. We sometimes even do karaoke. Tonight's meetup is at Barley's Tap Room and Pizzeria for happy hour. They're already down there now, starting without us, but we should be down there after the show. We have another caller. Would you give us your name or nickname, please? Hello, do you have a name or nickname for us, please?
Hello.
Hello, can you hear us now?
Yes.
Be sure to mute your television. There's a 7-second delay between the TV and the telephone, and pay strict attention to the telephone.
Okay.
And again, may we have a name or nickname, please?
Yes, my name is Debbie.
Hello, Debbie. Thanks for calling in. Do you have a comment, question, or story?
Well, I just have a comment, a little story.
Okay.
Apparently, I was born a non-believer.
Yeah.
My parents forced me into church, and I never bought the fairy tales.
Right.
I remember being told Bible stories when I was a little girl, and I would ask why, and nobody was ever able to explain to me why. It was just because it says so in the Bible.
Right.
And my question to them then was, how do we know there's truth in the Bible?
Exactly. What did they say?
because it's the Bible. And my theory has always been that it could have been the Air Days Cosmopolitan magazine that was dug up back in the mid-centuries or whatever, and it might just be pure fiction.
Right.
And my parents would never allow me to say that I was a non-believer, because there was going to be a big bolt of lightning come out of the sky and get me.
Right. How long have you been a freethinker now?
For many years. I actually did not know. I felt very bad, and I felt very alone because I lived in a very religious rural county. And my doorbell is constantly being rung by Jehovah's Witnesses and Baptists, and I feel so alone because I feel like I'm the only person in the world that doesn't believe. And it's really funny because if people find out you are a non-believer, it's like you have horns on your head.
Right. So you have not...
It's really nice people.
Right. You haven't come out of the closet, as it were?
Oh, yes. I couldn't keep my mouth shut any longer. And by the time I kicked a couple of Baptist youth groups off my front porch and out of my driveway, I had to stand up and say something because my parents were in church their entire lives. And there at the last, they were taken advantage of by, monetarily, by the preacher at their church.
Yeah, I believe that.
And, I just can't accept, you should treat people the way you want to be treated. And don't ride under the guise of religion. Don't wear it on your sleeve, because if you do, it makes you suspicious. Right.
Now, even though Jesus did say, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, that's not original to Jesus. Confucius said that long before he did, and it's a general golden rule that humans have been saying to each other for years and years.
Well, it just makes perfect sense.
Millennium.
But, and I'm married to someone who's very religious. And it just, I just can't buy it. I cannot reason with it. I cannot buy into the fairy tale, per se.
Yeah.
And maybe that makes me a bad person in other people's eyes, but says, when you're 3 or 4 years old and you ask questions and nobody ever answers them.
Or says, don't ask the question.
60.
Or just puts you down and say, don't ask the question. Have you thought about joining any Freethought groups to be with more like-minded people?
I would love to.
Okay. There are two of them here in Knoxville, the Atheist Society of Knoxville. And if you don't really want to call yourself an atheist, you can go with the Rationalists of East Tennessee. They have rationalists, freethinkers, agnostics, all type of free-thinking individuals. And they do have an awful lot of camaraderie, get-togethers, and meetings to share information.
Well, it's just a real comfort to me, knowing that y'all are out there, and that I'm not alone.
You're not alone.
And I do really appreciate everything I've heard about your organization.
Great. How did you find our show?
There was an email.
Oh, cool. Very good.
Nobody likes to be alone.
Nope. Or think that you're the strange one or something. Just because you can't believe the outlandish claims about the supernatural, and then all of a sudden you're the crazy one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's an announcement where you left off on November the 20th.
Oh, okay. You want to get into that?
The Rationalists of East Tennessee.
Oh, okay. He's telling you about the Rationalist meetings now.
Oh, yes. So they want to raise the question, who wrote the Pentateuch, the first 5 books?
So they go into this type of thing when they have their meetings. They have speakers that come in from local colleges and things.
Ralph Eisler is going to talk about it. The traditional view is Moses wrote it by divine inspiration, but most biblical scholars think, no, this is a piece of fiction.
And if you can get into town on Tuesday afternoons or Tuesday evening for happy hour, we're always down at Barley's Tap Room and Pizzeria down in the Old City if you'd like to come join us.
Sounds great.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your call.
Thank you for taking my call. Bye-bye.
Sure. Bye-bye. While we're waiting for the next call, I'd like to bring up the topic. We had a late caller last week. It was after the show, and he didn't really get a hold of either of us, but he did leave a message on the machine. We captured that, downloaded it, and we're going to make it available for you now. And we'll talk about that when it gets through playing. You should be able to do it now.
I believe that you people are crazy.
Are we going to hear it?
And I'm ashamed that Knoxville has allowed you to be on television, and when you die, you're going straight to hell, a lake of fire, because you have rejected Jesus Christ as your personal Savior, rejected the Bible, rejected prayer, rejected faith, and everything that goes along with it. You atheists and agnostics out there have a conscience. That conscience is something God gave you to tell you that there's a God out there. And so you're lying. You're just lying. Every time you come on TV, you're lying that you don't believe in God. You don't believe there's a God. Oh, you believe in a Big Bang. You're all crazy. You're all nuts. Every one of you. And you should get off TV. In fact, I should start a petition and get a petition going to get you guys out of town. Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Well, there you have it. This person obviously thinks we're the crazy ones. We don't believe that oceans can be open, that fish can swallow people, that food can rain from the sky, but yet we're the crazy ones. He also said that he was ashamed that Knoxville would allow people like us on TV. Personally, I'm very proud of Knoxville for allowing the diversity of talk beyond the airways as it does.
What's interesting, in London in the 17th century, Baptists were prohibited from being inside the city of London because it was thought they would corrupt the morals of the people.
Baptists would? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's a typical, I think, of human beings to draw circles around ourselves and say we are, to quote from the first century, we are the sons of light and all the others are the sons of darkness.
Right.
And to divide the world into a kind of dualism. And animals tend to do this too. It's the amity-enmity complex, the love for insiders and hostility to outsiders.
Right. And he's certainly showing that in spades.
So it's typical. In fact, anthropologists discovered that almost all cultures, when they look at another culture that they have no familiarity with, they think it's either dangerous or comical. And the job of an anthropologist, and the reason it's called a discipline, is to try to get inside another culture to understand it from within.
And if that culture is still around, it's obviously successful on some level. It was successful.
Yeah.
He also said that we have rejected Jesus Christ, rejected the Bible, rejected prayer, rejected faith. Well, yes, I'm afraid we do. All of that is based in supernatural belief, claims that cannot be proven or even tested. The thing, many people tell me that we have to believe in God. We can't just believe in God. If we said, okay, I believe in God, then they would tell us, well, we have to believe in the Bible. Then we have to believe in Jesus. We have to believe in angels and demons and witches and hell and the entire pantheon of religious thought. These are things that people just don't take into consideration when they talk about atheism. We just don't believe in God, therefore we don't believe pretty much in the afterlife, so we don't believe in souls. So all of the things that he's talking about that we're crazy and that we're lying about. We do have a caller. We're going to take another caller now and see if they has a deconversion story to share with us.
The Bible Belt.
Well, welcome to Freethought Forum. May we have a name or nickname, please?
Yeah, it's Dylan.
Hello, Dylan. Did you have a story for us? Are you a believer or a non-believer?
I am a believer. I actually follow by Catholicism.
Okay.
And and I go to a Catholic school. I actually go to attend Knoxville Catholic.
Okay.
And You know, I've always had different views of certain things, and I've always been one to stick out in religion class and ask my personal opinion and give it. And we don't get a lot of atheists or non-believers at a Catholic school.
We'll volunteer to come out and talk.
Yeah. And so I thought this would be a very good opportunity to get on here and ask a couple questions that come to my attention and that I would like to, that have been raised in classes that we've only got one subjective answer to.
Sounds good.
I think this would be a good place.
Okay.
My first question is, what is the atheistic view on the theory of either evolution or the Big Bang Theory?
May I take this one? Atheist is one answer to one question. Do you believe in God? If the answer is no, you're an atheist. If the answer is yes, you're a theist. Now, atheists per se can be Buddhists, they can be Raelians, they can have all kinds of positions on all kinds of questions. They don't have a position on evolution. Now, most of the atheists that you'll run into in American culture in this day and age are generally free thinkers, humanists, secular humanists, who do hold with the value of scientific research. And as such, they hold with evolution as being the best answer for how humans arrived on the Earth.
I see.
As did my theology teacher, by the way, in the seminary, was an evolutionist.
Yeah. And many, that's a good point. And many believers, even though they are theists, believe in evolution as well.
And that's how I feel about it. When I first made my view about it at school, they were like, no, that is absolutely not how it works.
Sure.
But I think that, if there is a God, that I don't think he went, boom, Adam and Eve. I think maybe it's more logical to say, he did have the Big Bang. The Big Bang went on, and then the evolution went about.
Right, that's more of a deist position, that he started everything and kind of sat back and let it go. Whether he's watching or being involved at all is another question.
Okay. What's the way to put this? With the, I heard you speaking with a lady before about the rationalist group. What kind of community around here with the rationalists, the atheist society, or whatever it is?
Okay, the atheist society pretty much gets together for happy hours. Tuesdays and Fridays, different places around Knoxville. After the show, we'll go down the old city down to Barley's Tap Room and Pizzeria. Fridays, it's the beer garden, Beard and Beer Market. For happy hour.
They have lots of communion.
Joe's more involved in the Rationalists of East Tennessee. He can probably talk to you about their meetings and when they do.
The Rationalists of East Tennessee do eat together sometimes, but they have various speakers to come in to talk on different topics, not always on religion, but on a lot of moral problems and ethical issues. Primarily because they, as rationalists, want to try to bring people together to try to solve practical problems that people have to face often daily, and to do it in an environment in which people can have different opinions and discuss them freely and openly.
See, that's something I would like to get involved in, because it's always nice to have more than just one view.
And either one of the groups will more than happy to accept believers if they're there honestly to search and talk and examine the issues. We don't want someone to come down, preach, proselytize, or provoke, of course, or punch.
But you can criticize.
But you can criticize. We're certainly open to conversation.
Good criticism is good.
Either one of the groups love. It's the strangest thing, but you get a bunch of atheists together and the thing we want to talk about is religion. So the water's good.
All right. Gentlemen, I thank you for entertaining my questions.
Well, thank you very much.
Call back anytime.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay. Getting on to the next segment, which would be in the news. Do you have anything for us before we get that way?
Well, I noticed that Richard Land, a Southern Baptist, is interested in whether or not a Baptist could vote for a Mormon. And I thought this was interesting. He was saying yes. because his politics agrees with the Mormon candidate.
Yeah.
And so that he as a Baptist doesn't want to have a religious criterion.
It all depends on how much the candidate is going to push their personal religion once they get into office.
Well, here's what he said, and I thought this was interesting. Richard Land doesn't always consistently hold his Baptist tradition on this, but he, at this point, did. He said, we are not trying to elect a bishop or a Bible study leader. We're trying to, and I think most of us could agree with that.
And if he got into office and started doing that type of thing, then he's not representing the people that he needs to represent. The issues, he's not serving the issues of the public that he was elected to address.
He's using religion.
Right. Okay, excuse me, in the news, October 25th, here we are at the end of the world. Plus 4 days. Once again, the prediction of the end of the world has failed. The people at Family Radio were so sure and remain so wrong. Acting as our cub reporter, Faithless Forrest called the toll-free number on their website. You may want to. It's 800-543-1495. The phone was not answered. He left a message, though, saying, what happened to the end of the world? 3 more days have passed, and they have not returned our call. Their website makes no apology for their mistake, and as far as we know, they have kept all the money they have fleeced from their sheep. Wonder what they did with all that money, and what they were planning to do with it, with the world coming to an end.
They got de-raptured.
Yeah. Well, they have spent some on their advertising, of course, which they used to also raise more money. Reports that they have raised millions. An interesting part is the viewers, do you suppose they kept it all or spent it all on advertising? We visited their website, and they're offering special promotions on their literature from October 22nd to the 29th. That's after the end of the world promotions. So we just have to wonder, what's in their mind? I guess their website does not believe their own dogma. We invite you to call in and share your end-of-the-world stories with us. On the evening of October 21st, members of the Atheist Society of Knoxville met at the Beard and Beer Garden, or Beer Market, and enjoyed the end of the world together. We look forward to many, many more. We have a voicemail. We already did that part. So, we have a phone number on the screen, 215-2288. We invite people to call in with their deconversion stories, or indeed any questions that they might have for free thinkers, agnostics, or atheists. The number is on the screen. Maybe we should get into our program.
I have a deconversion story.
Okay.
And actually, I think all deconversions, you might disagree with me on this, is it's fairly normal. Everybody goes through a lot of deconversion and reconversion. It's nothing dramatic. Usually it's fairly normal. Most of us, I remember someone came to my door and asked if I had been born again. And I said, well, sure, several times. The reason I said that is when I'm born into the world and when you're born into the world, we are enculturated. This is a word used by the sociologist and anthropologist, or we are socialized. That takes years. That's how we got a language. We aren't born with a language. We aren't born with a conscience. All of this is enculturated, and it takes years. And in the process, we interact with other people and other groups, and they bring to us new ideas and new language, and we then get to change some of our views and modify some of them.
So it's an ongoing process, changing all the time.
It's a perpetual process. In fact, if you get married, it is a deconversion and a reconversion process for both of them.
I'll say.
and so we shouldn't try to traumatize this. It's a good thing, and everybody goes through it. And everybody is both a believer and an unbeliever. The real question is not whether you're a believer or an unbeliever. It's what you believe and what you don't believe.
Christians are believers in Christianity, but they're not believers in Islam. Is that what you're saying?
And furthermore, there are various parts. See, all views have various parts. And people modify parts of it and keep other parts of it, and you and I do the same.
Yeah.
For example, as I've often said, there are some atheists whose some parts of which I don't buy, and they don't buy my parts. And some of those parts I have more in common with some Christians and some Jews and some Hindus.
I always like to say everybody's going to somebody's hell.
Exactly. In fact, the notion of hell is itself something that is invented long before Christianity. In fact, you could argue that the human species did not get the notion of hell from divine revelation. It came from the boiling hearts of human anger and rage toward other people.
Injustice in the world. Saying that eventually they will get their pay, even though that they can't.
You can see that in the book of Revelation. Obviously, he's angry about the Roman Empire, and he is wanting to do to the Romans what they have done to him. And you
but
find
he's powerless to do it. So
he's powerless. And in Psalms 137, it's a very sad prayer. A woman apparently is suffering because some of the children in her group have had their children dashed against the rocks. And her prayer is that their children will be dashed.
Happy will be those who dash
and that's
children
a sad
against the rock.
thing.
Yeah, it's also a very cruel thing, but if she was mourning, I can understand she would be very upset.
I think you're right. That the hell notion is just revenge and hatred.
And we have another caller coming in. Welcome to Freethought Forum. Can we have a name or a nickname, please?
My name is Mike.
Hi.
Hello, Mike. Welcome to the show. Did you have a comment or story for us?
Well, I have a story. I was just going to kind of briefly go over my experience in my deconversion.
Okay.
I was born into a very heavy Christian family. Parents were very religious, went to church at least a couple of times a week. And I was actually Christian about a year ago.
Mm-hmm. If you're on a cell phone, you're breaking up a little bit.
All right. I'll get to it there.
Okay.
He what?
Well, while he's doing that, let's go on.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
I hear you now. Go ahead.
Oh, go.
Okay. Yes, I was just. What part of the story did you hear?
Well, just start over.
You were raised in a very religious family.
Yep. And I was actually a Christian until about a year ago.
Okay.
And I guess my deconversion really started after watching a documentary that actually talked about some of the similar stories of some of like the Son of Gods before Jesus. And after hearing some of those, I went online to kind of do research just to find, and when I was going online to do the research, I kind of expected some pastor or something to have like a perfect response to, to some of these claims. And what I was finding were just a bunch of people making excuses and the claims made by the Christian people that were arguing weren't supported by any facts or evidence, and the claims made by the people arguing against Christianity were people providing the facts or pointing out where the evidence lacked, but I didn't jump immediately into atheism. I kind of flirted with the label agnostic.
Sure. Do you remember the name of the debate or the documentary that you saw?
It was Bill Maher's documentary.
Okay. All right. The movie that he came out with.
Yeah.
Religulous.
Religulous.
Okay. Just for our watchers.
Oh yeah, it's a pretty good documentary.
But it got you thinking, huh?
Yeah, it definitely got me thinking. I think that's the key.
Right.
Going into it, I wasn't necessarily going into it trying to actually debate anybody, but I went into it looking for honest answers, and it just turns out that the answers that I got meant that
just more dogma.
There's no more.
Yeah. So how long did it take you to go through the process?
Probably, I want to say about 6 months, because something like that can be pretty traumatic. And people, I've heard people say that when they first, encounter something like that, they might get depressed or they might get kind of sad or down or whatever. But with my, in my situation, it actually opened up the door,
right.
like a lot of.
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. Do you now have strong beliefs?
Yes.
Okay. How do you distinguish your strong beliefs from a dogma?
My strong beliefs from a dogma?
From a religious dogma type of thing.
Yeah, a dogma, any kind of dogma, political dogma, just a dogma.
Well, I don't think there's a problem with having strong beliefs as long as they're backed with some kind of
Go ahead.
evidence, and not just inferred evidence that if it was applied to anything else would stand up, because
right.
So a belief should be tested.
What do you often hear people ask you once they know that you're an atheist, that atheists, or tell you that atheists don't believe in anything?
I've heard that before.
Yeah, that's not quite the case, though, is it?
That'd be hard to go through life not
believing in anything. But I believe in family, home, hearth, health, work, the work ethic.
Yeah, if you had to list all the things you believed in,
Just because we don't believe in supernatural stuff, we don't believe in anything. It's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, it's really nonsense, and it's not even necessarily that we don't believe in anything. We just don't believe that
in certain things,
there's a guy upstairs that's watching over us, and that when we die, we're automatically going to be lifted up or down somewhere, and that's what it's. Right. That's what it's all about. And I think when people say that, they're actually trying to throw a subliminal insult to atheists or atheism.
Mm-hmm. Have you come out of the closet yet, the atheist closet?
No, I haven't. I'm actually a software engineer, and this is actually something that's pretty interesting. I'm one of the projects that I'm working on right now is an artificial intelligent basically a robot that can think. And one of the interesting findings that we came across is part of developing the artificial intelligence is giving the robot a value system. And the robot has feelings, and you can actually give the robot a measure of how much it values its feelings versus others.
And what are you going to base that on?
Well,
begging the question, what?
It's kind of arbitrary right now. We get.
How would you test it? In other words, how would you test it?
Test the values.
Yeah. In other words,
the value system you're planning to get.
It's actually interesting. I'm going to tell you kind of one of the interesting findings that we came across. So we actually have actions that the robots can take, and one of the actions is actually telling the truth versus not telling the truth. If that makes sense. And we found that when we gave the robot a value system, that where it valued its own feelings above the feelings of others, there were actually some instances where it decided not to tell the truth, not because of any kind of type of sin, but because it used reason. I mean, we programmed reason into this robot, and what it did was it did a logical calculation of what it valued most, and because of that, that's why it chose to give the response that it did, which was essentially not the truth, and it chose to do that because it said, at this moment in time, I value my feelings more than this other person's feelings, therefore I'm going to produce this output that's not true.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a pretty interesting.
Have you been accused of playing God?
Not really. Most of the people that I work with kind of, share my beliefs, right? How I feel right now. So
one of the major characteristics of human beings, traditionally, an evolutionist would tell us, is the enormous capacity to lie.
Yeah.
And some animals apparently are able to do this in their behavior, deceptive behavior. Mm-hmm. If you've got a robot that is incapable of lying, that would be interesting to look at. Yeah. It would be a limitation. It would be a lack of imagination. Now, would a robot of the kind you're talking about have an imagination?
It's possible. I don't know how much you all know about processors, but we're setting the robot's brain to kind of work like a processor, and so every cycle, which is probably going to be maybe every second, an event's going to occur, and sometimes that event is nothing. So whenever nothing happens, the robot can actually select to learn about something or think about something. So when it thinks about something, it takes what it already knows, the knowledge that we programmed into the robot, and it's going to infer about certain things. So it's definitely possible for that to.
Idle hands,
Yeah, but I definitely think that one of the interesting results is the whole the moment that it lied. We were all very surprised because we didn't expect it. But it also goes into you don't necessarily need this original sin situation for to explain why people sin, because I talked to a Christian maybe like a month ago, and they were like, well, what does atheism do about sin? As if there was some divine reason why.
Well, the thing about it is, sin is a device that was invented by the church to get control of you. Sin does not exist. Now, you can hurt each other. Harm exists. But sin is a trespass against God, and that would make it a victimless crime.
What if you said this? Crime and doing harm and evil toward others is a human recognition, and then we project this onto the deities. In other words, what I'm suggesting is religion has basically traditionally bootlegged from ethics. Ethics is older than religion in many respects. And some religions have then tried to make themselves the sources
or call themselves the sources
of religion.
They try to usurp
of ethics.
The goodness.
No, let me finish my viewpoint.
Okay.
Is that ethics is so basic to animal existence, and in our kind of life, it gets even more complicated. And then religion is a way of becoming a parasite off of ethics, attributing ethics to the gods. And once you do this, then if you are a spokesman for the gods, you become control of ethics. And in that sense, it is a hostile takeover of human ethics.
Okay, did you have anything else for us then? Caller?
Well, the problem with the conversion and deconversion is education. Mm-hmm. I remember a minister in Chattanooga, Tennessee, once called his freshmen and people before they were going off to college and warned them about college. But basically, he was afraid of education. In my opinion, I knew the minister. He simply did not believe in education. He believed in a one-way street indoctrination.
It's forbidden fruit.
And those preachers talked of doubt as a sin, like stealing or lying, not knowing that doubting is a major part of thinking.
And doubt is a precursor to questioning. You can imagine how they felt about questioning. Yeah. Let me talk about my own. We have about 20 minutes left in the show. Phones are open. You can see the number on the screen, and we do welcome all calls at this point. My own deconversion story happened in college. I was a believer up until I went into the Navy, got through the Navy, came out, went to college. I was still a believer, and my first girlfriend in college was an atheist. And we spent many an evening sitting around and talking about these questions. And her answers were always better than the answers that I got from the religious folk back home. They made more sense. They were more logical. They were based in reality and scientific fact. And it got me questioning it enough to look at other religions and look at their stories. The angel coming down and giving the Bible directly to Muhammad. the golden plates being placed in the earth centuries before Joe Smith was born. These are fantastic supernatural tales with characters right out of mythology.
All cultures have these tales.
By the time I got through college, I was pretty much an atheist, and happy to have, and no regrets over losing the religious beliefs. Welcome to the Freethought Forum. May we have a name or a nickname?
Yes, hi, this is John.
Hello, John. Welcome to the show. Did you have a comment, question, or story for us?
Yeah, I'd just like to share my deconversion.
Okay, sounds good.
First, I'd just like to say that everyone who's called in so far has been fantastic, and my experience, as I remember it, was very similar to theirs. For me personally, though, and I don't think for any of us it's any one thing. I mean, I'm speaking from a believer's perspective.
Good. Go ahead.
That was. I've been a non-believer for 12 years. But for me, as all these things were coming to a head in my life, it was actually prayer that was my kind of tipping point. And anyhow, it was one night. I was 18 going on 19, and I was in mid-prayer, and I just stopped. And I've never gone back.
Well, prayer happens for a lot of people like that. If God has a plan for you and you're constantly praying for things that you don't have or the job that you need or whatever, then it's like you don't trust God. And then if he really does have a plan for you, then why are you bothering him all the time? That type of thing. And it turns out there's a video on YouTube that it called I tried praying to a milk carton and got the same results. Who was a comedian, Harlan, was saying, I pray to Joe Pesci. And I usually get the things I want.
Right.
That was funny.
For me, I mean, prayer takes on its own course. You learn, as a believer, that is, you're going on, and you as a child, you pray for all sorts of wacky stuff. You know, you pray Grandpa will come back, or that you get something for Christmas. Or
let me ask you a question.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
I remember once asking a theologian in Dallas, Texas, once if he would work with me to keep a record of his prayers. He was saying prayers are answered, and I didn't think he was lying. On the other hand, I didn't think necessarily he was telling the truth, although he believed it. But I wanted to keep records so that I could tell the difference between praying as he did and praying to a pencil sharpener.
Or a doorknob.
He, in other words, I wanted to keep records of both what he claimed, and I wanted to be specific and not just vague about it. Yeah, but unfortunately, he wouldn't agree to do this.
So you had a control group.
Yeah.
Well, what I was saying is sometimes I have a hard time thinking this is almost a con game, not on other people, but on the guy perpetrating it. You see what I'm saying is if you con yourself and say, well, I didn't get it goes this way. God didn't say yes. He said no, and that's an answer. Or maybe he said maybe. But that's the same that you could get from a pencil sharpener, is what I'm saying.
Right.
You see what I'm getting at?
Oh, yeah, and you could rationalize it so many ways.
Well, I'm trying to reason.
Yeah.
You see, what I'm saying is, what's the difference between reasoning and rationalizing? It usually works this way. If I don't like the way you're thinking, I call it rationalizing. If you don't like the way I'm thinking, what do you call it? Rationalizing?
Right.
You with me?
Yeah.
Okay. Now I think I'm reasoning. Where was my reasoning wrong?
Oh, I see. Well, you're just trying to conform it to the way that your preconception was.
Yeah. Now you tell me, can you test a prayer to see if you're really getting what you're claiming or if you're just fooling yourself? How do you tell the difference?
Yeah, I'd say that'd take a lot of honest reflection.
Well, that's an honest answer. It really is. I appreciate
that's
that.
what it would on me.
Yeah. Well, okay. That's fair enough. Okay.
You just got to... that's what I did. I just said, you know what, this is a whole lot like talking to myself.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Well, now, you got a good point. A lot of people don't take time to talk to themselves and think. And I remember my father-in-law once told my son, talk to yourself, listen to yourself. And that's a sensible thing to do.
And when you do, make sure you be your own best friend. There's so many people that have negative self-talk that works against them.
That's true.
Have you watched the show before?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. How did you find us?
The internet.
Okay.
Oh, good.
Oh, very good. You're welcome to come down to one of the meetups if you'd like to and have a little more conversation.
All right, will do.
Okay.
Let me suggest most people change by piecemeal, not by wholesale conversion. I'll give you an example. In Knoxville, Tennessee, a very dear friend of mine once was teaching Sunday school. In fact, she taught for years. And I remember she slowly studying the Bible, trying to raise her 2 children, trying to solve problems. She came to believe there's no Satan. And she, as a Christian, thought, you have to take responsibility for yourself, and the Satan notion is an escape of personal responsibility.
It is.
Now,
the devil made you do it.
Yeah, and she used to laugh at this comedian who used to say this. But what she was doing is she also worked herself out of not only that view, but the notion of a rapture. She came to, within her system, she took each of these viewpoints and reworked them because she thought they simply made no sense. And I'm thinking most people do things like this by piecemeal.
Right.
And in
fact, it's not like a flash of light like you normally get.
This is a book about scientists who work by piecemeal, changing their views, and you can see how the evidence will come in and revise a theory, or usually a hypothesis. And another book called The Structure of Scientific Revolutions he uses the word conversion, how scientists get converted from one paradigm to another, which means they get deconverted from one and converted to another. So what I'm saying is the conversion process is normal.
We have another caller. Welcome to Freethought Forum. May we have a name or a nickname, please?
Hello, my name is Glenn.
Go.
Glenn, nice to have you on the show. Please pay attention to the phone and turn the TV down. There's a 7-second lag there.
Oh, I understand.
Okay,
go.
You have a comment or question?
Yeah, I just... I think you have really good points based on human history and everything, but what if Christianity or Judaism, what if the fact that it's true or false or irrelevant, and that the fact is it works for so many people?
Well, if you had cancer, would you want the doctor to tell you or not?
Yes.
Okay. The position we take is it's better to deal with life on its own terms and know the truth than to deal with it with nothing but wishful thinking.
With a fantasy.
With a fantasy.
Yeah.
It may work for some people in that they believe that if they're not in church every Sunday, they're going to go out and rob people or kill. And those kind of people, I think they need to stay in church. But for the vast, I have a higher view of humanity that they could live and deal with reality on its own basis without the need for supernatural belief systems.
Well, supernatural, let me give you the passage from the book of Deuteronomy and see what you think. I'll summarize it. If you keep the commandments, this is a prophet, presumably, or a priest, telling the people, your nation will be set high above all nations of the world. Your fields will be blessed, crops blessed, herds and flocks blessed. And your bread baskets will be filled, and your fruit baskets filled, and on and on and on. Now, what it amounts to is that this set these people up for what's the problem? what's called the problem of theodicy, of suffering. It didn't turn out always this way. And so you had two answers that the tradition gave. The prophet said every time it didn't work out, that's because you're wicked. The book of Job, however, got tired of this and said, no, there has to be another way to look at this. And the whole drama is a way of trying to say, this bill of goods we have been sold simply doesn't work this way. And it insists Job was a good man, and yet he lost his wife, his kids, his land, and that's what this story is. In other words, there are parts of the Bible, for those who really read it, rather than listen to preachers talk about it, the Bible deals with these problems. They answer there are people in the Bible and writers who answer each other trying to deal with these questions. The book of Job is trying to deal with this problem that the book of Deuteronomy raises, and it gets into problems. And what I'm saying is, in physics, they developed some theories that had some problems, and so they had to develop other theories to try to improve them, and that's what people have been doing for centuries.
Did that answer your question? Do you have any other question or comment you'd like to throw at us while we're here?
Just one.
Go.
What if it works?
What?
Regardless of truth or falsehood. What if it just works for a lot of people?
What if it just works?
What if it just works?
Well, okay, I don't really have a problem with it just working for some people, if they will keep it out of the government.
That's
where it really starts affecting people. It's okay if I say, I believe in Jesus, and I'll do what he says, and I'm going to pray to him at home, and I'm going to go to church. But then when you start saying, I'm only going to support Christian politicians because they will push the Christian agenda on all the other non-believers, all the Muslims, the Hindus, the Buddhists, everybody else that lives here in America, that's my problem.
In fact, my wife and I wrote a book trying to explain why it did work, called The New Birth, as the title of it, A Naturalistic Interpretation of Religious Conversion. It's not a supernaturalistic explanation, it's a naturalistic explanation as to why this works. A church, after all, is a support group.
And you don't have to be religious to have a support group.
No, of course not.
Non-religious.
But that's it. Without a church, this would not work, and that's why preachers constantly want you to come to church.
Well, the Atheist Society in Knoxville and the Rationalists of East Tennessee are support groups.
A university is a support group for having diverse opinions and open criticism.
And education. Did we answer your question then, I hope?
Got another caller.
Yes, you did.
Okay.
Go.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
We have about 6 minutes left, and I have some resources I'd like to put on the screen, starting with the atheist.org, or Positive Atheism, if we could have that screen. If you enjoyed the deconversion shows that you saw on this show today, you can go to positiveatheism.org. You can see right in the middle of the screen, there's a line. And if you can capture this or whatever, it will tell you the link to go to positiveatheism.org. And they have a collection that people have put in over years of how they came to reason, how they came to Freethought, left religion behind. There's some very interesting stories there. Moving along, I'd like to bring up my website, which is digitalfreethought.com. It's a not-for-profit site. Digitalfreethought.com, has many resources on leaving Islam, leaving Christianity, leaving Mormonism, the deconversion process, and what to do when you are deconvert. And should you come out of the closet? Should you not? Whatever. And we have another caller.
Taken away.
I'm sorry? Welcome to Free Thought Forum. Why we have a name or a nickname? Please pay strict attention to the telephone. Turn down the TV. There's a lag in the broadcast, so you'll get confused.
Have I mentioned there's another book called The God That Failed, And it's the story of people who had been converts to communism, and they deconverted. So what we're suggesting is this is, once again, a human process that has been taking place for centuries.
For a long time.
Yeah.
We have about 4 minutes left in the show. We could probably take another 3-minute call. I hear the phone ringing. Hopefully it'll come in here shortly. One of the best deconversion stories I've seen on the internet was by a user called Evidence3. It's EVID3 NCE or NC3 at the end. It's like a 10-video series that covers this man's deconversion from fundamentalist Christianity to free thought and reason. I highly recommend it. It's called Why I Am No Longer a Christian.
Another one is called Crisis of Conscience by Jehovah's Witnesses. A witness, he was a member of the governing board of the Jehovah's Witnesses.
Okay.
And he wrote a book called Crisis of Conscience.
Okay, we're going to try to take this call real quick. Welcome to Freethought Forum. May we have a name or a nickname, please?
Go.
Please pay strict attention to the TV to the phone, and turn the TV down.
Yeah.
Hi, how you fellas doing this evening?
Go ahead.
Fine.
Go ahead.
How are you?
Thank you.
We have a name or nickname?
You mind, and you may find this kind of comical, but would you mind if I ask your first names?
I'm Larry.
Yeah, Joe. Sure.
Larry and Joe. And you may find this comical. I'll be praying for y'all this evening. And, you're pushing your viewpoint, and you're not going to listen to mine probably, but I really feel you all are in darkness, and you don't want to hear about a God out there.
Well,
you're your own God.
If I might say,
let the man go ahead. Go ahead. Okay. Let's hear what you have to say.
I'm just saying that.
Well, okay. First of all, you don't know me. I studied religion for years. I've been into this for years.
And I was a Christian until I was 22.
So you have to know people to make statements like this. It's okay for you to think somebody is in darkness and all that. That's fair enough. That's your opinion, and that's fair enough. But you must not engage in falsehood. You see what I'm saying? You wouldn't want me to lie about you. You understand what I'm saying?
What do you mean falsehood? What did I say?
Well, you don't know me enough to know what I have thought about
darkness
religion
or not,
and what I've thought.
I'm speaking third person. It's understood that what I'm speaking is my opinion.
Okay, but you have to have an opinion have to have something to back it up. Otherwise,
well, I back my opinion that you're in darkness up.
Well, that's okay.
My belief is that if you don't believe in God and Jesus, then you're in darkness.
Well, our belief is that if you do, you're in darkness.
Okay. Is that your argument? Or let's hear your argument. That's an opinion. What's your argument?
You go to 30 seconds.
I'm not going to argue with you.
Okay. Well, that's okay. That's your opinion. Okay. That's
good. I hope that you see the light.
Well, thank you for your good wishes.
Just don't pray on us in the PREY.
Okay, the last person was called Reasonable Doubt. If you can go on YouTube, look up Reasonable Doubt. His name is spelled with zeros and not O's. And we'll go to the closing. It's time to start wrapping things up. Get out your pen and paper. This has been the Freethought Forum. Atheist Society of Knoxville and the Rationalists in East Tennessee bring this to you every Tuesday at 5 o'clock for a full hour. Free thought.
And we're trying to enlighten the best we can.
Right. You can send us feedback by leaving a voicemail at 865-272-9060. That is a Gmail account, voicemail account, and I love using those because if you leave a message, it will transcribe the message and send it to your voicemail and to your phone. And it will text you, in other words, with the content of your message. It's pretty cool. This is Freethought Forum. Email is freethoughtforum@yahoo.com. And you can see us on ctvknox.org. That's CTV for community television. We'd like to thank Sam and Jonas and Lee for their technical assistance. And I'm Larry.
And I'm Joe.